Good afternoon, guys.
Hi, Pete.
Max saying
Bonjour.
hi. Bonjour, ça va?
Bien.
Nice to see people joining on this sunny, whatever day, Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to join. Is somebody, are you recording it, Max?
Yes, it is, yeah.
So just to let everybody know, we are recording this so people who can't make it just now can watch it later on, because there's a lot beginning to go on now, and it's just beginning. You know, the wheels are beginning to set in motion for what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I see your note, Max. I can't do that. That's a Mishi thing.
Okie doke. Yeah, I've just messaged her.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll give people. Nice to see people joining. Welcome. What we're going to do is we're going to chat through what the current situation is, where we are now with the new changes in the legal framework. I've just literally come. Well, it's still going on, but I've dived on here. A fascinating 2-hour session of the JCCP Education and Training webinar with a whole rate. I think there's about 100 people on it, all discussing what the future is going to look like. The majority of those people were from training establishments, off-qual, a whole range of people speaking about where we're at now. So what I wanted to do was speak to 2 experts in the field. Maxine, CEO, Cosmetic Couture. Hi, Max.
Hiya.
Lee J, founder of L3 Matrix. Lee J, how are you?
Very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm beginning to get my head around this now, about where we are, what's going to happen, how long it's going to take, and what people can do. And fundamentally, what we're going to talk about now is what can people do now to start getting ready for what's going to happen and future-proof your career in the aesthetics industry. So
not only if you are a practitioner, but if you are a training academy, this is what this webinar is about, to give an idea of what it will look like.
Yeah, and begin to plan now, because the future is the future is bright. The future is the future's bright. The future's orange.
Oh, yeah.
It's an old advert. So what's happened? If I just sum up what's happened in the last week or so, just quickly, and then we can talk about the things that people can begin to look to do now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So last week, Government announced that there are going to be changes to the aesthetics industry, fundamental changes. So the fundamental change is going to be you will need 2 things to practice in aesthetics. You will need a personal license and you will need a premises license. Now, don't panic. This is not now. This is going to take at least 2.5 years to come in. So, you know, the webinar I was just on, minimum 2.5 years, at least 6-8 months consultation from when consultation starts. It hasn't started yet. And then at least 2 years to put in a national framework, because what we're talking about is a fundamental change to the livelihoods of tens of thousands of people. So it's going to be it's really complicated, but government is going to do it.
Pete, sorry, we've had a lot of messages on social media, and it's saying, and we know it's not, it's completely different. It's going to be similar to SPMU, and it isn't.
It isn't.
It's nothing like that.
No, it's going to be completely different to the landscape we see now. So it's going to be completely different to tattooing. It's going to be similar in terms of premises requirement, but in terms of your personal license and qualification, the landscape's going to change quite dramatically. What it's going to look like, we don't know. That's part of the consultation process. But what we can quite safely say is you are going to have, in about 3 or 4 years' time, you're going to have to start having a regulated qualification. Currently, there aren't any. What it's going to look like and which level it will be is up for the government to decide. So in terms of future-proofing, what can you do? Look at what regulated qualifications currently, there aren't any regulated qualifications, but look at the national framework of qualifications, things like off-qual, things like qualify, things like those types of things. and how you might look to do that over the next few years.
Yeah,
yeah, Max.
Because it will be open to more awarding bodies to create that qualification against the framework. But at the moment, the nearest thing to anything what we see is qualify. So it's not something to be afraid of. It's it's going to set out aside the standards of training academies that are they going to be able to meet that, to be able to deliver these qualifications. And I think it's amazing news, whether it's 2 years, 3 years for it coming. We've been waiting 12 years for this.
So what the government will do, the government will set a national standard for this industry. And loads of qualification bodies will then apply to say our courses, our qualification meet the national standard, and they'll get the tick box. So it might be, let's say, Oxford University, they have a course, it qualifies, qualify. Whoever it might be, will, as long as it meets the national standard, and that's the complicated bit, the government's going to set what the national standard looks like. And these are they've listed the treatments that you will need a qualification for. And those are anything where you inject a substance, anything with the application of a substance which is capable of permeating the skin, threads, anything with a needle, and any application of light, electricity, heat, or cold. Everything else is exempt. So nails, lipstick, exempt. Any of those categories, you're going to need a license. You're going to need a personal license and a premises license. So, but what the qualification actually is, we won't know for at least 2.5 years. But you can start planning.
There's going to be still lots of people not understanding it and worrying about this and thinking, well, I've trained and I'm a training academy. Will I be able to gain a personal license or a premises license? That's what's going to be in the back of everyone's minds. But when it is released in the future, I'm sure that training providers who offer these courses, they're going to have to get to the standard to be able to deliver them. And that is absolutely brilliant, because it will wheedle out the training providers that are not offering proper qualifications or can't even deliver it because they don't have the right criteria or the right qualifications to train it.
Well, Maxine and Lee, you can probably comment on this as well with L3 Matrix, is that you have to jump through so many hoops to get qualifications approved by insurance or by a regulatory body to be able to offer that qualification, don't you?
Yes. Somebody's asked Marie Brown, so are our qualifications void? No, they're not void. It just means in the future that there will be further training and you will be given a time frame to be able to meet it. And we also spoke on the last live about APL, RPL, recognise prior learning, those who've been doing it for many years. What that looks like, we don't really know as of yet. But if there is further training, it's going to be accessible to you. Companies like us, L3 Matrix, other reputable training companies, there's no reason why we can't deliver those standards. And for the thousands of people that have trained with reputable training companies, then they'll be able to do that training in the future. It's not bad.
I think the thing everyone's got to remember, and I think everyone's panicking, this is just to bring the standard back to a higher level that we're delivering anyway. It's just to stop the ones that are not delivering it, so everyone's on even field, and then the customer's happy, the academies are happy, and the practitioners are happy, and it's only going to make it better, like Maxine says.
Yeah, there's another question here as well. So what will happen if we go to various locations doing clinic days? Well, your premises, you'll have a personal license, but the premises will need to be covered for you to be able to deliver it. So it's not like you just turn up at a beauty salon and you can do the treatments. That's the whole point of this, is to make sure that the premises are to a level and inspected, like the inspectorate that we have at ACPB. We know what that looks like. And if you as a practitioner, you will need to have a personal license. So that's what it does look like for the future.
It does. And so for somebody, for example, with that, if you're going to hair salon A and doing treatments, and then you're going to a place, a tattoo parlor or whatever it is to do treatments, all those premises where you do treatments will have to have a license.
Yeah, they will have a license. So again, it's going to be like the bigger clinics that are able to meet them standards that they've got. the correct flooring, that you've got PPE, that you've got a Sharps disposable contract in place. There's lots of things that are going to need to be in place for you to go. As a non-medic, if you're going to a salon, you're going to have first aid equipment and things like that. So it's all those things that have been took into consideration.
I think that the premises thing's a bit easier to do than to understand than the qualification thing, because the list of things you need to have as a recognised premises pretty much already exists. There are national standards for clinical practice premises. It's not as arduous as you might think. But there is a list. Maxine's just listed a few of them. You've got to have wipeable floors. You've got to have certain types of taps. You've got to have first aid equipment, access to a whole range of things. And Max, where all that you can find that.
Yeah, I mean, you can email ACPB. It's a charity for support and advice for you. I mean, when you go to the training companies anyway, you get an idea of what a training facility, a clinic should look like. So you're well aware of what you should have in your clinic. But if you need advice on that, you can email ACPB. There's still lots of questions coming in. Somebody's saying about they've not finished their qualification and they're in Scotland. How will that affect me? So
that's really interesting, because what we're talking about today only applies to England.
Yeah.
So this is an English law. So what's going to happen in the other parts of the UK, we don't know. This is England only at the moment.
I have my premises licence by my local council. Does this count? No, this is going to be completely for aesthetics. It's going to be
it's going to be a brand new licence.
So this 2.5 year guesstimate we're having, will this be for the qualification, then they'll bring out the establishment, or will they say establishment first, but you've got this much time to bring your education up to level? Which do you think will come first?
I think it's most likely, because it's much easier, that the premises license they'll both be enacted at the same time, and it will say your premises needs to look like this and you need a license by 2027.
And this is this is also going to stop the mobile pop-up training academies as well.
Unless your mobile
hotel one,
brilliant.
unless you're your mobile van.
unless your van looks clean, it can still tick the box. Just because it's on wheels doesn't mean So
come on.
I know it's going to have to be a Winnebago. No, on a serious note, I mean, it's coming, but this is a real opportunity. I would argue that anybody who's on this call is ahead of the game already. Yes. Because we've got, however many people on this call, every single person on this call is already ahead of the game. If you put in place now things to start thinking about what's going to happen in 2 years' time, you will be fine. Because you'll understand process. You will understand what you're going to have to do. The people who don't think about this now will get left behind.
Well, do you know what, Pete? I've been thinking about it for 13 years.
I know.
I'm always a forward thinker, but I've been thinking about this for many years.
It's interesting. So the JCCP, one of the organisations at the forefront of this, are having a debate as we speak now. I was on it for a couple of hours this morning. They're thinking they don't know quite what it's going to look like, because the government is going to take soundings from everybody. And I'd urge everybody, certainly on this call, when the consultation process gets started, get involved. Have your voice.
Have your voice.
It's really important. Have a voice, because otherwise you can't really complain. Because, in an ideal world, I think, Lee and Max, you'd agree, if the government says, right, you need a minimum of a level 4 qualification, that's okay. That's okay, because you can access tomorrow level 3 with these guys on this call.
You're going to need a level 3 to get to level 4. So correct. With you being on Antonio as well, our L3, for our students who've done the level 3, then that would be a stepping stone onto the level 4.
To the next one.
We need a level 3 to get to 4, to 5, to 6, to 7, which again...
So if we envision this level 4, because that's the next thing everyone's going to go, what will a level 4 be? Will it be online again, or will it be online with practical? Because that's the next thing everyone's going to be asking, I think, now.
An assessment process, and Pete mentioned something quite valid this morning after being on the meeting about an assessment of level 7.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big I'll come back to that point in a second, Lee, but level 4 is going to involve practical assessment. You know, pretty much all level 4 qualifications in anything, because of the nature of level 4, include demonstrating ability. You can't demonstrate ability in this field without doing it. You've got to show an examiner that you know how to do Botox and fillers safely.
Yeah, so I mean, we deliver a level 4 qualification, and there's so many practical assessments of each treatment. So you have to show competency that you're able to deliver that treatment on a various of different conditions. Then you go away and you do like your further CPD case studies as such. So something like that, you would need to show competency. For those who've been out there for many years doing it, it's not going to be a problem showing competency, or even producing. If they produce, like, say, a recognised prior learning course or APL, if you've done hundreds of treatments, you can show that you are confident, and that what you've done, that you've done so many treatments. So that might go forward as well.
Well, I think that's really important and really interesting that RPL, recognised prior learning, will be a part of whatever the new framework looks like. So if I was an aesthetic practitioner now, I would have a very formal way of recording what I do to prove competency. And I know Maxine and I know Lee J, you're working together on putting together things that help people show RPL.
Yeah.
So, because at the end of the day, though, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's all well and good having a qualification, but if you don't do any injections over 12 months, the same as an airline pilot, you've got to do that many hours every year to keep your license. And I think that's what it should do, is show that minimal standard. Even if you're not got your foot in the door every year, you've got to kind of keep your learning up to date, which is, again, CPD and other things.
Yeah, like revalidation. That I think IQ Verify do that with the level 4.
Yeah, every 2 years. I think revalidation will be part of the new rules. You'll have to prove competency every X number of years, like a driving test. Once you get to a certain age, you have to prove that you're not going to drive into walls every 30 seconds.
Yeah. Two more interesting comments here. Sorry, Pete. We've got any indication if the new qualification will apply to medics and non-medics? Well,
it will.
Premises license, yeah, it will.
It will. Both will apply to everybody in this industry.
Okay, another good question, Zoe Smith. The medics are going on such a tangent with this, saying this is to stop non-medics. So the general public tend to listen to medics, even if they are speaking non-facts, in order to boycott us non-medics. I don't totally agree with that, because not all medics are against non-medics. We work with many medics, and a lot of medics prescribe to non-medics as well. There's a small minority of people, but non-medics are more accepted than they were 9 years ago. It's completely different. There are many people out there who choose to use non-medics. So it's not, I don't think it's not there to stop non-medics. It's there to just to make the industry better. And for those who are
and also as well, sorry to interrupt then, also as well, this person has just said that. And imagine in 2 or 3 years when this does come in, everyone's going to be on a bit more of an even keel. Instead of that gap, everyone will be on an even keel. You'll have the premises, you'll have the qualifications, and then it's just down to your experience and knowledge that will give you the difference between a medic or non-medic. At the moment, they like to say that gap, but there's no realistic reason why that gap should be there.
I think it's an opportunity for the really good non-medic professional in aesthetics. This gets rid of that. This will get rid of that argument, because you are going to have X qualification, whoever you are. It'll be, let's call it a level B, just to forget the number. You're going to have a level B in aesthetics. Whether you're a heart surgeon or a dustman, if you haven't got a level B in aesthetics, you can't do aesthetics.
And your premises is the most important thing of anything, because that's where you're doing your treatments. We had an inspection on one of our premises, and the report was, we wish all premises were like this, because it's just CQC standards, and it's not a CQC standard premises, but that's how all premises should be.
So, and on the premises, so for example, if you're a doctor who does aesthetics, you won't be able to go to somebody's house and do Botox and fillers in their house.
No.
Nobody will.
No.
Because you'll have to, which is a great standard for everybody. So what this is doing, to Lee J's point, it is absolutely flattening the field and making, giving it a qualification. If you want to be a dentist, you've got to have a qualification in dentistry.
Yes.
Also, as well, what would be nice is, what would be nice as well, I think, is like when you go to your favourite restaurant and you see 4.5 out of 5 on hygiene or 5 out of 5. If this has this when you go to a clinic and they've not got that little badge outside, you turn around, walk out and find one that's got the approved premises, because you know that they've not jumped through the hoops. They're not proud of what they deliver. And like when you go to CC, you feel like you're walking into a clinic. It's not an office, it's a clinic. And that's the feeling you should get when you enter premises.
Well, interesting. It'll be illegal, Lee J. It will be illegal not to have a license. It will be illegal not to have a personal license. It will be illegal not to have a premises license, you know.
And again, sorry, I keep going on about this because everybody here now is worried. So there's a couple of comments again referring. I agree with Zoe. A dentist once told me the days are numbered for non-medics. No, they're not. and put off training for many years until speaking to Cosmetic Couture. They're also referring to Dr. Tim Pearce, but we know that a lot of scaremongering comes from him anyway in the past. But it's not. This is not to exclude non-medics. Your days are not numbered.
Correct.
Further training coming. It's better for the industry and it includes you. It doesn't exclude you.
Just let me quote. Can I quote what the government said?
Yes.
The government actually said. So the government said, just to reassure people, this isn't a medic v non-medic argument. This is about being professional and proving your abilities. Okay, the government will work with stakeholders to put in place a licensing regime that works for both customers and providers, protecting those who choose to receive cosmetic procedures without placing unnecessary restrictions on legitimate businesses.
Correct.
Without placing unnecessary restrictions on legitimate businesses. You are going to have to prove your abilities, your competency, you are safe through a new qualification that we don't know what level it's at yet, and you're going to have a safe and secure, clean, hygienic premises, which I think you'd all agree is reasonable.
It is, and that you are a registered company, that you actually exist. You are on company.
And you pay your taxes.
You pay your taxes. So it's, you know, it's not, you've got to be a legitimate company. And you're traceable, you're accountable.
And have insurance. And insurance companies will only be able to insure people who have 2 licenses.
Yeah. And this will be brilliant for your new business venture, won't it, Lee J? So it's about So,
connecting you to the right academies, because that's the thing. Is it's literally, I was speaking to a lady the other day. She spent with a company in Liverpool, that's all I'll say, £3,000 on a course. She got half a lip. She feels devastated, and now doesn't trust any training academy. And that's the problem. If they go once to wrong one, even though they've got like your Cosmetic Couture, other great training academies across the UK, everyone gets tarnished with that same record, unfortunately. And that's what we need to kind of stop. And I think this new thing will help with that. And second of all, it'll bring the standards a lot higher. And I also want it to be like Secret Rose. You're buying your filler from a recognised source. Again, this is the other massive thing. I keep seeing these girls putting on there, I've got 4 left and I bought them with no VAT and I bought them from a back of a shopping supermarket car park. And again, all those things are the things that shouldn't be happening. And when you see them as a normal person, you notice that's wrong. But some people think that's completely normal, and they're the ones who want to go with
stuff, don't you?
I do, literally, honestly. I'm showing my age now. I feel like the Cook Report here, watching it when I see it on social media. Even now, practitioners I've seen who qualified, did her own BBL, and then was asking questions in an aesthetics forum. Is the side effects normal? She did her own ass in the window, in the mirror.
You see, you can understand why they want to get some regulation in place.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, if you're in the industry, you hear the horror stories, you hear everything. TikTok, people doing Botox, self-administrating, there's loads of things that go on. But this is going to stamp it out because it's going to be illegal. That's the key word, it's going to be illegal.
It will be illegal.
So, you know, when you're going on your training, you are going to have to be taught to a set criteria. You are going to have to do a certain amount of models on that, you know, on your training course. You are going to have to be assessed on a certain amount. So things are coming for the better. So it's all.
But what I'd say to support people who think, hang on, but I've got an unregulated qualification. Okay, but you know, if you're good at what you do, and can prove it, you've got before and after photos, you've got consultation forms, you've got all. If you act responsibly and professionally, you can prove that. That's going to be part of your qualifications going forward. There's no point not doing existing courses because you don't know what the regulation's going to be. Existing courses teach you how to do Botox and fillers.
They do, and let's go back to what the government said. They're not going to stop legitimate businesses from carrying on earning a living and practicing. Myself being one of them, 12 years in business. That's how long I've been doing aesthetics. So for my company, I'm going to find it quite easy to be able to deliver the qualification with the right practitioners and tutors that I have, that are assessors, internal verifiers. We have all that in place. Those who've trained with us, don't worry, because anything that we need to implement and any further training that you have to do in the future, we'll do it. Because I've been in business for 12 years. I'm not leaving this industry. I'm staying in it. So, it's nothing frightening for me at all.
Yeah, and also as well, let's reiterate again, this isn't tomorrow. This is the thing, because obviously anyone coming on, this 2-3 years time, plus then a time frame on top of that, so, and don't forget, the Parliament closes in July till September, so it won't be till next year they sit down and have a whiskey.
The consultation period will not start until, maybe next session of Parliament. So, and then you've got 6 months of consultation. Then you've got at least 2 years for a licence scheme to become operable from the end of the consultation. So you're looking at, hang on, where are we now?
2025.
Sort of April, Easter 2025.
Yeah, so for those who are coming into the industry now, it is easier for you to get into because there are shorter courses, there are 7-day pathways, or if you choose to go with somebody that does longer in-depth training, later on, a couple of years down the line, if you've come into the industry now, you will have further training to do and you will give an X amount of time to do it. So it's not a worrying thing. It's easier to come into the industry now and train. It's going to be a little bit harder. It's going to take longer.
It will. If I was wanting to get ready now, what I do is get qualification, do loads of courses, get skilled, underpin my knowledge with theory. Underpinning practical experience with knowledge is going to be really important. Proves that you can do what you're doing.
And that's good that you're explaining it in that way, because what I have seen on the internet is train now before regulations come. So people are actually cashing in on it already.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Scaremongering.
It's not. Come in, choose a reputable training company, get your experience behind your belt, make sure that you're recording all your treatments properly so that you can use it for APL, RPL at a future date, and get yourself ready now. So coming into the industry, that's great. But later on down the line, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, there will be further training that you will easily be able to do because you will have been doing it for many years.
That's right.
Yeah, and also as well, Maxine and ACPB and ourselves will always make sure, because what we do is all the technical stuff, they give it to Pete. He simplifies it for us normal people to understand.
Yeah,
and then we're 6 months in advance.
Skills and network of contacts, and he will feed the information back to myself and Lee J.
That's really, really important, because not that I do this, but not because I'm brilliant or anything, but it's really important. If you understand what's happening in the process, you can plan and prepare. There'll be a lot of people who on social media over the next 2 years absolutely panicking and not knowing what's going on.
And like we're seeing these comments, this is it, it's game over now. It's not game over at all.
It's not game over. This is a huge opportunity, because for the people who think it's game over and get banned from doing it, means all their customers are going to want to go to people who are reputable.
Yeah, and you can't make it like, so it's just one for all. It's not excluding non-medics. Many years I've had constant debates and arguments. I don't do it so much anymore because I don't need to, but over the years there's been constant, you're getting stopped, wait till these new legislations come in. Yeah, they finally come in, but they're not excluding legitimate businesses.
It boils down to a couple of really simple things. You're going to need a license, personal one, which means you're going to need a certain qualification, which currently doesn't exist. Even government doesn't know what it's going to look like yet.
But we do have, somebody again mentioned, but we do have the qualified qualification, which, that may be included. That's the only thing there is at the moment that we know of.
The government is not going to ignore off-qual.
No.
They're not going to ignore them. They're going to take into account what off-qual do. Anything that's off-qual linked is likely to be sort of, acceptable in some shape or form. It's likely that there'll be new courses in aesthetics.
Yes.
But you'll prove very simply by some practical, you might go to like a fast track learning day where you prove that instead of doing a 6-month qualification, you prove in 2 days or a day that you are competent, safe, and professional.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, you bring in all the pictures and the photos and the records of all your treatments. You bring in a copy of your website, whatever it is, and you prove competency. Yeah. And the best way to prove competency is to have loads of examples of what you've done safely.
Exactly. So that's advice for practitioners. And if you are a training company or you do offer training, my advice would be to get to a higher level with your teaching and training, maybe a level 5. Rather than just a level 3, because you're going to need a higher qualification to deliver the higher levels.
And something Maxine and I were talking about earlier, if somebody wants a really fast track into earning pots of cash, who's going to assess the assessors? Because they're going to need thousands of assessors to assess the new qualification, whatever it looks like. Mm-hmm. To assess the assessors, you're going to need a higher level of assessment. You get an assessing qualification and get the highest level of existing qualification you can. If you could get to level 7 now, 4, 5, 7,
if you're a medic
and an assessor's,
yeah. So if you're a medic,
you'll be quids in.
Well, luckily we've got level 7 assessors at Cosmetic Couture, so that's one of the tick box.
So, yeah, if you've got any more questions, guys, feed them in. But, yeah, you're going to need a license. You're going to need a premises license. But what that looks like, we don't know for 3.5 years. 2.5 years minimum. But, keep in touch. Get yourself, if you're not in the ACPB, I would highly recommend that because that's where we put all the news. It also, and I forgot to mention, the third thing, so qualification, inspection, premises. The third thing is sign up to a code of conduct, because I think signing up to a professional set of standards is really going to help you.
Yeah.
You sign up to say I only do face-to-face consultations. I only use a prescriber. I've got a prescriber on hand. I've got clinical support. All of those things are going to prove your competency.
Mm. Another interesting point as well would be product supply. I wonder where that will fall in about people buying products, because people do mention about products that are buying products online. They're not reputable products. They're not CE kite marked. So it'll be interesting to see where that comes in.
Well, that'll be your code of conduct. You'll sign up to show that you're not buying. You're buying responsibly, and if you can be proved not to be buying responsibly, your license will be revoked.
Yeah, but there are non-pharmacies that are selling products as well.
Well, the product side of it's quite is going to be really interesting, because I know the MHRA are talking to government about this in parallel to the licensing change.
Yeah, because there's a lot.
And also as well, sorry, like Pete said before about showing how many faces you've done. If you can show how many fillers you bought, it's going to have to show where you bought it from.
Correct.
Again, goes to quality of
product. That's standard even for insurance purposes. If you get a claim,
Max, it might be standard for you, but it's probably not standard for most people. That they say, right, where are your batch numbers? Can you show me your list of products? Can you show me what you've bought in the last 6 months, where your products come from? A lot of people won't actually be doing that, I don't think, which is where I think the opportunity for you guys lies, Max Leger, is put something together that shows people how to do RPL properly. Mm-hmm. Put something together that says, listen, this is going to stand you a good set. We can't promise that this is what it's going to look like in the end, but if you've got this list, loads of photographs, before, afters, product supply chain, all of those things, you can prove all these hundreds of things. You won't be going wrong. You've got to go around the right road, because a lot of people don't know what RPL looks like.
Mm.
It's gone quiet. Any more questions? I know it's going to be complicated over the next couple of years, but what we'll try and do is keep you updated with all the new information as it happens.
Yeah. People are still asking more questions, but some of the questions that you're asking just don't know yet. We can only surmise on some of them, but Buying products would be from reputable registered companies, more likely.
CE mark. Buy something with a CE mark. And another thing they're going to get really heavy on is advertising.
Yeah, the wording,
there'll be tighter laws on advertising. You won't, it's already illegal to advertise POMs, but nobody seems to care.
One more before we leave. But someone said again, how do we know what level we've trained at? Well, it'll say on your certificate. Currently, there are no set standards for non-medics in aesthetics. It's just about having good training and being the best you can be, and obviously working with your clinical oversight and do things professionally. We don't actually know as of yet what that will look like, but like we said earlier on, you will be able to get to it. You will be able to go back to a reputable training company and be given a set amount of time to be able to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's about some prove competency, safety, and proficiency, and prove safe premises. And, that's the overarching principles. How that sort of looks like is really complicated in a lot of ways.
But one more good question. This
carry on, I'm here all day.
One for you, Antonio. Would be good to have industry software that keeps records of things like Treatwell in aesthetics, but for products and things like that. You have been developing this, haven't you? With
So my pathway is going to be connecting students with approved training academies, but there's a secondary app that'll be launched in 3 weeks, and that'll be your basic CRM for you, booking your clients on there, adding before and after pictures, sending them the consultation forms, put in the actual barcodes of the products. So again, like Pete said, 6 months down the line, you better log in your app, press a button and share that with a governing body, for instance, or your insurance, and it will show every single person before and after, consent forms, product where you bought it from, the key part of it, and show a full track record of you as an individual. Because at the moment, it's training academies, your premises, but fundamentally, you as an individual showing your competency, not what your premises just are. So this is where now, like Maxine said then with that comment, the new My Pathway app will give you that freedom to do it. And you can do all your bookings through there and buy products.
If you get a potential claim, then that's great, because everything's there. It's easier for the insurance company that they'll back you because you've done everything properly.
Exactly, yeah. And this is the thing again, just before we all go off is, let's do the D's. Don't panic, don't worry, and it's not going to happen just now. So it's one of them things that people will literally just log on to this, and like you say, some of them will be the doom and gloomers that will literally pack up the syringes and give up and start working at a shop tomorrow. But they're the ones that you need to realise it's not going to happen now. It's coming to better the industry, and there'll be people like Maxine, myself, Pete, and other academies that will actually bring the level up and then be a teacher. So don't panic about it, because it's 2 or 3 years down the line, not 2 or 3 weeks.
And just think, if you are, let's assume, let's look at the numbers. Let's assume 20% of people currently practicing won't be bothered to go and get a license and go and get a premises license because it just rules them out.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of new customers to go around for the people who can be bothered.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
And this industry is just growing all the time. So this isn't going to dampen public demand. This is probably going to increase public demand, because the public are going to be more, people might not have a treatment today because they think, it might be, in inverted commas, dodgy. They're going to see a regulated industry and, absolutely know that every practitioner they go to is theoretically safe and secure.
Yeah, and it's good that now, in the future, or those who've trained already, it's great for those that will be able to go back to the training providers that they've trained with, and they will be able to do any further training, because over the last 12, 13 years, this industry grew massively, where there are thousands and thousands of practitioners. When we started many years ago, I think it was only 3 or 4. And it's going to open it up where you train, because it doesn't matter, because you know that it's all going to be the same level of training. At the moment, people choose businesses, like they'll come to me because of reputation, how long we've been in the business. They might choose somebody in London, somebody who's been training, or you know, they go on price because they can go and do a Botox course for £500 and it's a short course. This is going to stop it. It's going to be basic. We're all the same. At BTCT, you might choose to go to somebody in Manchester because you live there, but at least it's all going to be the same. You know, or you may
standardising it.
Yeah, or you may decide to go to another because you hear they've got a great reputation and their teachers are excellent, you know, but it is going to make it one playing field for all. And it's not like monopolisation where, you know, a certain academy gets it all. It's not. It's just going to be like you're going there, you're getting what you pay for. You know, you're not being ripped off. You're not having bad training. You're going to have a good experience.
And what I'd say on top of that, Maxine, so for the training academies who are listening to this, who are on here, if you're a training academy, think about what the future looks like, because there's going to be a lot of people wanting to add to their training or do a top up or get the new. Everybody's going to have the new qualification. They're going to have to get it somewhere. So training academies absolutely should get ready and try and understand, okay, what courses, what can we do now to get ready to offer whatever the government puts in place?
Get the right teaching qualifications, get the right tutors in with the right qualifications. You're going to need all that. You're going to need the right premises. You're going to have to be able to follow up with all those students that you've trained and be able to support them in the future for any changes that, you know, they are coming. Again, I'm used to saying for what changes come, but they're coming.
Yeah. At least we know now change is coming. At least we know it's probably going to be about 3 years, and at least we know two of the things it looks like. It's going to be premises and it's going to be personal license. Yeah. So, okay, plan.
So
happy days.
Apply for licenses, Zoe, because there isn't anything out there yet. This is just us talking about what's coming. After the meeting today from the JCCP, we've got a clearer idea of what it is going to look like, but it's not set in stone. So we're just updating our students, those who are interested in watching, so they know what it will look like, what it could look like. We've got an idea of it. But
what I would urge anybody on this call to do, I spent a long time with Maxine pulling together what a premises license should look like. And we did it knowing that this is going to happen. We went to the very top and we went to the national standards for clinical excellence in terms of medical premises of this nature, based on a whole load of complicated things. That document exists, and it roughly tells you in 20-odd pages what your premises should look like. So if you want a rough outline, Max, people can go to ACPB and have a look. They can get inspected. There's a whole range of things you can do now.
There's a great new website coming. We are a charity. We've been a charity for a few years now. We've got a new website coming with a members area, lots of the things, videos to help you with certain treatments and other things. And our network of prescribers is growing. So we've got prescribers that have signed up to our professional standards, that they do face-to-faces. We give out-of-hours help and advice for those who join. It's ACP, the Association of Cosmetic Practitioners of Britain.
And in terms of qualifications, Lydia, it's what you do, isn't it? So you must be thinking, hang on, this is awesome, because you can just plug these into your existing clients whenever the qualifications become, standardized and what they look like. You can say to all the people who work with L3 Matrix, right, plug this in. This is what you need to do. This is the qualification.
Yeah,
I think the good thing about... Sorry, Maxine, you first.
We've got quite a lot of training skills, so they'll be worrying, what does that look like for us?
I think the thing is as well, which is good about this, is, like you said, first of all, standardising it. And if a good percentage of anything is done online, then you can standardise it, because the academies will be teaching it at a standard level. The online will be at a standard level. And then whoever you're training with, whether it's one of our academies or anyone, if it's standardised that way, there's no shortcuts. And that's the whole point of this, is if you've got pride in what you do, pride in how you learn, then there's no reason to panic. And that's the most important thing, is don't panic. Keep reiterating that, don't panic. Another
thing for our training skills is that our level 3 will allow you to go on to the level 4.
Yeah. And that's a really important thing. Whatever happens, there's a nationally accepted way of how people progress in any education. You have to go level by level by level by level. You know, currently it's very difficult, but in the new system, that'll be a standard way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So, you know, don't panic. It's as simple as ABC.
Exactly. And I'm sure Peter will be back on soon when he gets some more info.
So what does ABC stand for, Pete? Should we end it on ABC?
We should, well, A, get acceptable qualifications.
Get accepted.
Acceptable qualifications is A. B, inspected. And C is code of conduct.
ABC.
So if you've got an acceptable qualification, you've got the right premises that's inspected at a high level, and you sign up to a code of conduct, you'll be cool.
Yep, and if you want any further advice or you need anything that you want to ask us, ACPB can speak to Craig at support@acpb.co.uk.
Brilliant. Cheers,
Super
guys.
duper.
Yeah, no, don't panic. We've got years of this yet.
Be even greater then.
Yeah. Not possible for me.
Have a great day, everyone.
If anybody's got any questions for me or anything, just put them through ACPB. I'll be more than happy to help.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys, take care. Be safe.